välkomna till Krishna-visionen. Straight edge är ett nytt fenomen i vårt samhälle. Det är en trend som växer stadigt och man har börjat tala om en hel rörelse. I dagens avsnitt av Gränslöst ska vi få se ett reportage från ett av 108s framträdanden. 108 är ett band från USA som nyligen var på turné här i Europa. Rishi fick även en intervju efter en av deras spelningar.
Ja, ni är välkomna hit. I dagens musikvärld så har en ny trend börjat bildas som kallas för straight edge. Och med oss här i studion idag så har vi med oss en grupp som heter 108 från USA. Och vad 108 eller 108 syftar på kommer vi nog också att få reda på. 108 har varit på en turné i Europa och är nu här i Sverige och spelar. So you are very welcome to this TV program. You are presently doing a tour here in Europe and now in Sweden. And I would like to ask you a couple of questions around this concept of straight edge and how it is related to lifestyle and philosophy, since I know it's not just some ordinary music. Rajek, sure, you are the leader of the band, one could say. Maybe you could explain a little bit about straight edge as a concept, what it is, and specifically how you perform this.
As a concept, straight edge started in Washington, D.C. And it was, what was it?
1980.
80, say something around that. There's these kids, they were into punk rock music. They would go to shows, concerts, and they had seen that their parents, their grandparents, their brothers, their sisters, everybody was doing the same thing, getting drunk and acting like a jerk. So they felt that, to really be rebellious, this would be something really smart to be rebellious against.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is really what everybody is doing.
Yeah.
So let's not drink. So what they did was, I don't know if they do it here, but in America, when you go into the bar, they stamp your hand if you're the right age that you can buy alcohol.
Yeah.
It says, okay, you can buy alcohol.
Okay.
So what they did was they took a big fat magic marker and they would X out the stamp on the hand. Say, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to drink. And then this is how that symbol developed, that X on their hands. So straight edge kids generally wear an X on their hand. And then many years after that, then there was a person who was then named Ray Capo. Now he's a devotee also. His name is Raghunath Das. Then he had a band called Youth of Today. They introduced vegetarianism into straight edge. Then vegetarianism also became a tenet of straight edge.
So it began actually from the punk rock kids, and they rebelled against the alcohol drinking.
Yeah.
And then it developed to
vegetarianism, and then it developed a spiritual side. There's a aspect of it that has there's like a subgroup of it that's spiritual side to it, mainly the Krishna consciousness movement. But that developed from like Shelter and 108.
Raghunath is in Shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Krishna consciousness movement, we are generally known as performing music of another kind. Yesterday night, we will also see some pictures from your performance yesterday. Actually, that was the first time when I heard and saw this live. I've heard some tapes before, but this was the first time I really experienced it. one could of course say that the music is quite rough, but the message is very sublime. So how does it go together, this kind of music but with that kind of message? You see it's like a kind of apparent contradiction. Is it a contradiction or?
Well, it's not a contradiction according to the Sanskrit scriptures. Janmad yasya yaton vayat, everything comes from the Supreme. And then Rupa Goswami has said, yukta vairagya uchate. So in this way, our philosophy is that the difference between material and spiritual isn't like the difference between a solid table and a ghost. Most people have no education. What's the difference between material and spiritual? So when they see something like loud music, or when they see something like something that you can touch or see or taste, they think, oh, this is material.
Oh, yeah.
This is, and then when they see something that's like really, oh, I can hardly think about this. This must be spiritual.
Okay, I see.
But actually what spiritual means is that it's in its connection with the Supreme Spirit. And what material means is it's disconnected from the Supreme Spirit. Just like if you take a piece of copper, it's electrical if it's in connection with the electrical outlet, and it's not electrical if it's disconnected from it. So in the same way, things are spiritual. Spiritual means in connection with the Spirit, Krishna, the Supreme Spirit. So anything, our philosophy is that anything, since everything originally comes from the Supreme Spirit, everything can be linked to the Supreme Spirit by devotional service, by engaging in His service. So even this music, even though it's loud and rough, it can be used, it can become spiritual, just as spiritual as having a little peaceful flower rally in the 1960s, you know, if it's engaged in Krishna's service.
Yeah, actually I could feel it was very inspiring, although this kind of music is maybe generally not my kind of music, personally, but I was very inspired by it.
I en artikel i tidskriften Back to Godhead säger Vraj Kishore, 108s ledare, att hardcore är mycket djupare och mer än stage diving och att alla i publiken sjunger med i texterna. Genom att uttrycka känslor och filosofi genom musik försöker hardcore att göra människor lyckliga genom att hjälpa samhället och individen att utvecklas. Det bästa man kan göra för människans utveckling är att höja hennes medvetande ut ur egoismen. Det är egoism, självcentrering, som är orsaken till att alla nyhetsprogram på radio och tv är överfyllda av kriser och problem. När vi sätter egots intresse framför miljön, djuren, de hungriga och fattiga, så är det egoism. Krishna-medvetande innebär att man vänder på denna vansinniga attityd. Det är som övergången från en geocentrisk till en heliocentrisk världsbild. En övergång från jag vill ha medvetande till Krishna-medvetande. Krishna-medvetande är godhetens och medlidandets höjdpunkt. Därför det leder människan ut ur jag-medvetandets kvävande träsk. Hur då? Genom att uttrycka andliga känslor och andlig filosofi med hjälp av ljudets kraft. De Krishna-medvetna hardcore-banden försöker att återföra vårt medvetande till Krishna, existensens verkliga centrum, genom att med musik glorifiera Krishna och hans heliga namn. Okej, vi skruvar upp volymen lite högre, men idén är densamma. Krishna-medvetande är inte bara förenligt med hardcore. Krishna-medvetande är den slutliga utvecklingen, den slutliga perfektionen av hardcore överhuvudtaget av alla former av uttrycksfull konst och musik.
Rasaraj, you are the singer of the band, and yesterday when I was there I could see that you had quite a lot of communication with the audience. Can you explain or tell us a little bit about the importance of that and how you experienced that?
Well, the whole concept of the band is to preach or to present the Krishna conscious philosophy and lifestyle. And on record, kids can buy it, and inside is a lyric sheet, which is an explanation to all the, not only has the lyrics, but explains the lyrics. And a certain amount, they can understand a certain amount from that. they can they can read these things and take in something.
Yeah.
And there's the other aspect of a live show is that they can actually come and experience it in more of a real sense. On record, when I was young, I would listen to a band and I wouldn't necessarily assimilate the band with actually just being personalities. So when you would see a band, it was a sort of bond. You sort of understood that this is a person. So especially when you're putting forth maybe a philosophical message or any kind of message, someone might think when they hear a record, oh, well, they can do that, but I just can't. They, for some reason, don't assimilate you with a normal person. But when they come and they see you live or they talk to you, they more or less see that you are just a personality. You are just like them in a sense.
You even let them sing in the mic sometimes.
Because you let them, they start to realize that there is no difference. We're the band and they're the audience.
Yeah, sometimes they were on the stage and sometimes you were floating on the hands of the public.
So the live show is what breaks down the barrier.
Yeah.
When they buy a record at a store, I'm the band and they're the audience. But at a concert, like you said, sometimes I'm in the crowd and they're on the stage.
Yeah.
So
and this, you feel this is an important thing.
Yeah, because it actually bonds us, and afterwards, like last night was a little hard because a lot of people here didn't speak so well English and I didn't speak so well.
Yeah, but I think many understood.
So afterwards, it was a little awkward. People would ask for your autograph or your signature. And at first I thought it was a little weird, but then I realized that in a sense it's almost like a reciprocation. We might not be able to communicate, we might not be able to communicate so well any other way. So them asking me isn't that they're looking up to me, but it's just sort of like a, reciprocal thing.
Yeah, like a contact.
And even if they didn't, the whole thing is like a reciprocation. Although we can't maybe always have full conversations, the live show makes us sort of bond.
Yeah.
You sort of experience each other as persons. So I think it's important, especially for this band, because we're presenting such a, radical lifestyle, that the more that they can see that we're just normal people, and the more that we can relate these things to them, the more effective what we're doing is.
Yeah.
I en så kallad fanzine, eller underground-tidning, som gruppen 108 ger ut, förklarar man att 108 är ett försök att förmedla det andliga livets rikedom och färg. Den så kallade religiositetens trygghet, fascinationen för ritualer och den stolthet man kan känna för sin kunskap eller filosofi, allt detta håller bara en viss tid och kan inte hjälpa en att nå speciellt långt. Krishna-medvetande är mer än allt detta. Det är en ofattbar ocean av andliga känslor. 108 är ett försök att visa och ge uttryck för åtminstone en droppe av denna ocean. 108 och Shelter är två mycket olika musikgrupper som båda består av Krishna-hängivna. Ibland tror folk att när man blir en Krishna-hängiven så tar man bara efter någon eller blir en kopia av någon speciell person. Ingenting kan vara mer felaktigt. Behåll din personlighet. Den är fin som den är. Förandliga den istället genom att engagera dig i att tjäna Krishna.
You and the women, they should take care of the home, and they should be very like that, traditional women. But you are here on the stage performing a hardcore show with screaming.
Well, on the one hand, I am pretty traditional. I'm married and I do traditional things. But on the other hand, really, you know, the idea of yukta vairagya is that you do what you're really best at for Krishna. And I've always been involved in the hardcore scene, and you know, I was straight edge, and before I came to the movement, one of the reasons I became interested in Krishna consciousness was through the other band Shelter, and so it was kind of like a natural thing. I mean, I played guitar, you know, I played in bands, and I was just sort of like, they needed another guitarist, and the fact that I was a woman was actually a bonus, because there's so many stereotypes about the Hare Krishnas, that they try to suppress women and that women aren't allowed to do anything. And it's in America, it's been a real sort of detrimental to the movement. And in fact, it's not the case, and this is just a way of that people can see that, you know, I can do whatever service I'm really good at.
Yeah.
And I really like doing it too. So.
So you came into contact with the Krishna consciousness movement through this kind of music?
Partially. I mean, when it comes down to it, my friends from the hardcore scene were people, you know, I knew Raghunath as well, and my husband as well, before they were devotees, and they were part of the scene, part of the straight edge scene. And it's pretty natural. I mean, you're already vegetarian. You basically follow the 4 regulative principles. It's not such a far step or such a far leap. So yeah, I guess if it comes down to it, it was all through this kind of scene somehow that I came to Krishna consciousness, and then directly through the lyrics of Shelter. And then Vraja Kishore used to do a fanzine called Inquirer, and I read it, and I was really inspired by it. So it's almost natural that I wound up being in the band and everything like that.
Yeah.
There's also been, and it's almost like the Hare Krishnas have been a part of punk rock for so long. You know,
That's
before,
true.
like, we're like this second generation of, everybody thinks first of Shelter and of 108, but there were so many bands before us.
Yeah.
You know, a band like the Cro-Mags in America, you know, one of them was an initiated devotee, the singer, and they were very, very big at the time. And that's how I first heard of Krishna. For, you know, they used to have a picture of Lord Nrsimhadev on their album cover. So many people were introduced to them.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
And although their lyrics might not have been as upfront, they were pretty upfront. I mean, they introduced vegetarianism in a very, you know, and not in this relation with being compassionate, but with the idea of karma. So there have been bands doing it. You know, there are also many other bands who were also involved. So it's almost been like a, you know, the Hare Krishnas have had a part of the whole punk rock or alternative scene for, you know, almost since its beginning. You know, we're like actually like the second generation.
Second or third.
För 30 år sedan i USA spreds Krishna-medvetande genom en ungdomsrörelse som var speciellt öppen för dess budskap. De kallades hippies av de utomstående. Själva kallade de sig för freaks. Nu upprepar sig historien med vissa variationer. Vi finner nu en ungdomsrörelse, straight edge, som uttrycker sin protest mot samhället. Den är en del av ett vidare begrepp som av de utomstående har kallats punk. Ungdomarna själva kallar det för hardcore. Medan man i 60-talets ungdomsrörelse, där sex och droger glorifierades, fann värderingar som i många avseenden avvek från Krishna-medvetande, finner vi i dagens straight edge-rörelse värderingar som istället stöder Krishna-medvetandets principer, det vill säga vegetarism, reglerat sexliv och avhållsamhet från droger.
How did you come into contact with Krishna consciousness, Radha Kishore?
I was in a band in straight edge, in a straight edge band called Beyond in America in 1988. And me and my friend Tom, now he's in a band, very famous band called Quicksand. So we were in New York City by CBGB's, the famous place where all the straight edge shows were every Sunday. And then we would go down to the record store down a few blocks down, Bleecker Bob's. And we went in, and we're looking around, checking out all the new records and everything. And then all of a sudden, behind the counter, there's this new magazine back there. Fanzine means magazine, made by Underground,
Yeah.
And so Tom was like, what is that? What is that? Because we were both had recently gotten into vegetarianism. And on the cover was this man with a big axe and a cow's head.
Yeah.
And he was killing a cow that was looking up at him with a man's head. And we were just like, this is the most freaky picture we've ever seen. We have to check this out. So we bought that fanzine. And it was called The Razor's Edge. It was by a devotee named Kalki Das. It was the first Krishna conscious fanzine. And when we read it, we were like, this is interesting. This is really interesting. We got into it more. And then the drummer from that same band, who's now the drummer in Quicksand also, he gave me this book that he got from the Cro-Mags. And it was the 108th Upanishad, which is one of the reasons why we named the band 108.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that we should also...
Yeah. And when I read the book, just from the first word, ladies and gentlemen, Prabhupada, just like the author of the book, Srila Prabhupada, even the way the book started, ladies and gentlemen. And then he presented philosophy on the spirit soul in such a clear, concise, and authoritative way that I had to stay up all night reading the book. And I wasn't one of those cases of somebody that reads about Krishna and the next day moves into the temple. And over the next 2 years, I just kept reading more books. I was chanting. I was actually chanting before I had to go into the temple the first time, offering my food, because I thought the books are okay, but the people must be freaks because the media can't be all wrong. So I was very scared to go to the temple for the first time. But that's also how I got into it, from the straight edge scene.
Yeah.
And then the way I actually took the step to become a full-time devotee was I joined Shelter. I never moved into a temple or, so I was very unusual situation. I joined the band, and in this way I became a devotee.
It refers to the 108 Upanishads?
Well, it refers to that many different things, you know.
Yeah.
I liked it. It popped into my head for some reason when I was trying to think of a band.
Mm.
It refers to that because that was the first book I read, the 108th one. There's 108 japa beats. There's, which is what we chant Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
There's, of course, we know there's 108 principal gopis.
Mm.
108 seems to be a number that's very
Special.
Yeah, I read an interesting thing also that from the Rig Veda, which is one of the 4 main Vedas, they say that the sun is 108 sun diameters away from the earth.
Really?
And the moon is 108 moon diameters away from the earth. And if you calculate, according to modern astronomy, it's exactly the same measurements down to the 10th of a mile.
Really?
Yeah. So something, 108 is like a special number. Krishna has created the universe and multiples of 108, and the spiritual universe also has 108 as multiples.
Mm.
So we're still trying to find out why we named the band. Right, more things
I
keep
think
coming
it's
up.
a good name.
Thank you.
All right, I think our time is running out and we have to stop here. I thank you very much for
Thank you.
coming.
Very much also.
I hope you will return to Sweden soon and do some more shows here.
Next year.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Så vi tackar vårt band från USA, 108. Och vi återkommer igen nästa vecka med nya gäster. Tack ska ni ha för idag. Hare Krishna.
Tack Markandeya Rishi och 108. Ja, det var allt för den här gången. Nästa veckas avsnitt av Gränslös kommer att handla om Janmastami, Krishnas uppenbarelsedag. Det blir ett reportage från Korsnäs gård där medlemmarna i Krishnarörelsen i Skandinavien firade denna dag sent i somras. Smita Krishnaswami, andlig läromästare i Krishnarörelsen, och Markandeya Rishi finns på plats i studion och kommer att förklara lite om Krishnas uppenbarelsedag. Innan vi slutar så vill jag passa på att bjuda in er alla till våran söndagsfest som vi håller varje söndag klockan 4 på Govindas. Och Govindas finns på Västra Torggatan 16. Det blir både föredrag och en fin vegetarisk festmåltid. Ni är alla välkomna. Tack för oss. Hare Krishna.